Welcome to Friday night's video, our Master Series. This is the 21st video in our Master Series and the 8th video in our editing phase. We are going to deal with clicks, pops, bleeps, anomalies, and things like that. This is probably going to take a couple of videos because this can be a very complex issue if you want to fuss with it that much. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, sometimes you have to. So it's that very simple of a situation that if you have to, you need to have a solution for it. So we're going to deal with it. Some of it is very simply that if you can replace it, replace it. If you can't, you have to find a solution. So I'm going to kind of go over a couple solutions. The first thing is we're not dealing with things like tuz, does, fuzz, cuz, things like that. We'll be dealing with that kind of stuff in transient issues when we do flow editing. So you have to really understand the difference between those. By the time we get done with this editing series, you should understand the difference. So basically, I've got a pretty good understanding of how to fix these kind of issues and when I can and when I can't. But the first thing that I have is I normally always, if I can replace it, I replace it. If I can't, then I've got solutions to fix it. But that's normally my first solution is either to replace it or find a piece of audio that's similar to it in the production that I can copy and paste in the section that's having a problem, that for some reason it had a problem, but it's there's a chorus or the vocal is doing a verse and he sings this word on and and somewhere else in the song he does the same thing, but there's no going on, so I cut and paste over to there. Yeah, done. Good deal. And that's a very simple solution. You just have to remember a couple things. First thing, I put my DAW into sample view so I can see how many samples. If you can really do a lot of work with, under 4 or 6 samples, you can do some repairs. It gets to be more samples than that, you're starting to really deal with something that's a larger issue that really is going to be hard to fix without spending a lot of time fussing with it. And another thing to remember, always cut at zero crossing and try to cut out whole cycles of a waveform. You've got a cycle of the waveform. It's starting at 0, going up, going down, past 0, up again, back to 0. That's a cycle. There's a video on here about waveform cycles and about waveforms. And trying to cut out a cycle if you can. I talked about punch-ins or sample substitution, substituting a sample from somewhere else. It's a really simple concept because normally if I've got like a click right here and I'm looking at this click right here and I'm looking at, is there something that's very similar to that? There is over right here. This looks very similar to that. Can I replace that? Can I take that right there, highlight that, cut that out, come over to here, highlight this, command copy that, and then come over here and highlight there and command paste it there, and then fuss with it a little bit, making sure I'm cutting it 0 crossings, and I might have to put an auto fade on there and then bounce it, but I don't have to fuss a little bit. Can I just do it that simple? I mean, that normally can be a really simple solution that works really well. Can I do that, or can I punch in a replacement? Sometimes it's a really small click or plop. You can't really punch in a replacement. It's like 4 samples, bro. I mean, it's kind of hard. So other than that, things like fades, but we'll talk about fades. You really want to make sure, sometimes you got to fuss with your fades on the ends or the beginnings or vents a little bit, because you're getting a click problem or a pop or something like that. So you got to really check that. And also your auto fades. Sometimes when you're going through and your auto fades that you have a problem with a crossfade or something like that, that you've got to fuss with it. You've got to be dragging it in, moving it around. You've got other aspects of the actual auto fade that you have to fuss with, trying to figure out what's going to make it work, what's going to make that click or plop go away, moving it around, doing all kinds of things to it, and fussing with the dang thing until you can get it to where it stops clicking. And it's normally situational, and you just basically got to fuss with the thing until you can find some way to make it stop clicking. Because there's normally not kind of some solution to, take the left knob, turn it right, and then do that little swoopy thing. Well, it sometimes just doesn't work that way, and you just got to fuss with it and try to figure out what you got to do to get that click or that pop to go away. So basically, I'll go to my clicks and pops notebook. And in here, the first thing you want to do is, I always make sure it's not a hardware or software issue. And I've got a list here going through signal flow, making sure it's not a hardware or software issue first of all, here and in here. and making sure it's not any of these problems here, first of all. Once I've determined that it's not and it's an audio issue, then here we go. We're going to deal with editing of the audio. So the first thing is, remember the issue can be visually seen and heard easily or not. And a prime example of that is on here. If you look on here, you can see these real easily. This one you can't. But you get zoom in down on there, you can see it a little bit better. But sometimes you can hardly even see it. And in something like RX6, you can see that third thing real easily. I mean, it's real obvious there's a problem there. Whereas with the other things, you can't hardly see that at all. You mean you can barely see that there's any kind of an issue in any way, shape, or form. These ones you can. That one you can't hardly even see. And sometimes it's even worse than that, where you can't hardly even see it in no way, shape, or form. And so you have to, I normally think if I got a problem like that, I highlight it, command copy it, and then I'll go down and paste it onto another track to really loop it, and start trying to really fine tune what is going on there and what is the problem so that I can address how to fix it. So, looping it, scrub tools, slowing down the track, copying the section, moving the track are great things to help you try to find the problem. Analyzing it with all the software that you have, your spectrum analyzers and your oscilloscopes, RX or MATLAB. I'll show you some things in MATLAB also, because with the advent of RX, I don't have to go into MATLAB a whole lot anymore, but I still do. That's where I learned to do audio engineering. And analyze it, with your eyes and ears. Remember, both of them are of equal value when you're doing the editing, and keep that in mind. And increasing volume, zooming in. Zooming in and increase the volume, bro, because, so you can really hear what's going on. So the first thing is it worth fixing? That is normally the first thing. Is it worth fixing? I mean, is it worth trying to fix the thing at all, or can it be redone? That is usually the first thing. The next thing is two different things. Is it a software, hardware problem we already talked about, or is it an instrument issue? Is it an issue that it's not really an audio problem, that there was some other thing happening, there was some problem with the articulation, the way the guy's playing it, something like that you have to address. That helps you target what the problem is, and to take a look and see if that is the issue. And then you look at, is it from where you did a cut and repair, a bounce, a render, or something like that? Can you undo it? Can you Command Z, undo it, go back and back and back and back to try to fix, undo whatever the heck you did? And, also, is it something you didn't cut at zero crossing? Did you not cut at zero crossing, and take the time to do it correctly, and fix it properly? And, can you go back, to a previous version, in your processing and your processes, back to the recording phase, and grab that file, grab that file that doesn't have that problem on it, and redo whatever you've been doing on it. And that's a huge thing to take into consideration. Next thing is, you got overlapping or not touching issues. This is a really simple thing. Gaps. Gaps. Do you have a gap happening that is causing a click? Can you drag them together, or do you need to create a piece of audio like that, drag it onto there, and move it around until you get it like that, and then bounce those pieces of audio together with that click, fix the problem, or what do you have to do? Is it a gap? And then start figuring out how you're going to fix that gap problem. Does that make sense? A gap can cause a problem. The other problem is overlapping. If you've got things that are overlapping, that can cause the same problem. If you got two pieces of audio like this that are actually overlapping on top of each other, can cause a click or a plop or a bleep or something, some kind of anomaly. You want to check that and make sure you don't have that happening. So those are things to most definitely check for. So after you've done that and you've gone through there, that is it where the event starts and ends. So you need to deal with your auto fades on the ends and the fronts and the backs of it. That your piece of audio is going to normally have an auto fade on it. You can do auto fade on it. You have a command to do auto fade, and then you might have to fuss with it some. I don't know. You might have to fuss with it some to try to fix it, because you've got a click or pop or something at the beginning of the piece of audio, and it's just going to take some time fussing with it. So, You know, and autofades. Autofades can be another problem because if you got crossfades, things like that, that you might have to fuss with this. You've got this crossfade going on here, but it's got a click. So what is going on? What do I need to do here to fix this autofade? You know, do I have to fuss around, move the thing around some? You know, I mean, somebody got to do something. You know, if something's happening, I stretch it out some. I bring these up or down or something. You know, trying to fix that, trying to fuss with this crossfade until I can get it to where it stops the click. Normally, there's no set solution for that. It just comes to you fussing with the thing. Whatever nodes you have to move the dang thing around, fuss with those until you can get to some kind of solution of fixing the thing. You know, does that make sense? And it just takes some fussing sometimes until you can get it fixed. That can be a solution, a problem, and a solution. So is it on the right or left channel? This is a huge problem because if you've got a piece of audio that, let's say that it's on the right or left side. So you've got this piece of audio and it's pretty obvious that it's on the right side. So if you look at it, you've seen the clicks and plops and bleeps. So if it's just on the right side, you can fix the problem like this. You can drag this file, cut out that section, drag it into your browser, you know, select that file, and then split it to two mono files. Then drag in the file that doesn't have that on there. So let's say it's the left side, and well, it's not the left side, so it's the right side. The right side doesn't have that on there. So you can see that mono file doesn't, and then you just go over here and put it on a track that doesn't have anything on it. Make sure it's set to stereo, and then command bounce it. Now you got a stereo version of that one side that you can take this side, cut it out, and then replace it with that stereo version and then bounce those sections together. And it's a very good solution that works very well. So that can be a solution that can help you also. So when you get past that, you know, it's like, is it a fast automation move? This can be a couple problems. First of all, can it be a fast automation move and can you fix it with automation? So when we're trying to volume automation, let's say we've got this right here. I'm going to turn on my automation. Now, isn't a fast automation move? Did you screw up? You're doing some automation. You got this real quick automation move that's causing a click. That can happen. Panning, any type of automation move. And also you can use automation to fix it. I put a little node here on either side of this part that was having a problem, and I just attenuate it. I could have put another one on there if I wanted. I could put another one here or here to try to match it a little bit better and say, okay, well, it's like that and like that, you know, and try to automate that out of there so it's basically kind of flowing along there. That is a huge solution that can work very well sometimes. So after that, then if you come along, you know, drastic volume changes, we just kind of talked about that. So those are some solutions so far. Now we're going to make one more video and get into some other ways of repairing those of down to the sample and with equalizer and things like that. So we'll get into that in the next video. So those are some solutions, and we'll talk about some more solutions in the next video because I'm running out of time. So peace, hope, love. I hope you enjoyed this first video on fixing your clicks, plops, and bleeps and anomalies, and I'll see you in the next video when we get a little deeper.